So, it's kind of been a while. I honestly find it pretty funny that my whole knowledge of Minecraft is with Datapacks. Yeah, my first, 8 videos are in SMP with only minigame dungeons as a Datapack part. Even then, I haven't exactly been consistent with how long it takes to make each video. Well, minus some life-altering events that happened to me in the last month, a new thing hit me right when the new terrain generation snapshot from 1.18 released. I opened a new world, and I just thought, dude, making Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild with this new generation will look awesome. So, what did I do? Well, I added a ton of new textures into the game. Yes, your wildest thoughts are all true. I am adding the entirety of the Breath of the Wild as a data pack into the game, and I've been working on it for 5 months, and I've done a lot. In those 4 months, I've added just about every one-handed sword into the game, plus a lot of spears, all bows, all of the special elemental arrows for them, paragliding and shield surfing, most of climbing, the whole inventory system, spawning Macavelins, spawning Guardians, a beta form to custom model armor, and I changed the color of grass. Now let's introduce chapters going over each of those 4 points, but first I need to address the second biggest question. What is even my goal with this? I can just say that my simple goal is to add Breath of the Wild to Minecraft, but that is way too general. Breath of the Wild has a lot more than just a physics engine, weapons, and mobs. There's a whole map to explore with NPCs and cutscenes and boss fights to do. Well, those last 4 are not what I'm going to add. What my main goal is to make Minecraft play like Breath of the Wild. So add a physics engine, weapons, and mobs to the game. Ta-da! Now I haven't figured out everything yet. Currently I don't know how to handle the player obtaining the custom gear, or even mine ores, let alone trees. That's why this is episode 1, and not a finished product, ready to be downloaded. Every once in a while I'll post updates saying what I've done, or what has changed, so you have those videos to look forward to. Now on to what I have done. So now you see that I have a chest full of items. Well, every one of these items is a netherite sword. Why? Well, it's because of the durability on them. Breath of the Wild's durability system is very different to Minecraft's, and that's because Breath of the Wild's max durability sword is the spring-loaded hammer at 80 points. Meanwhile, netherite swords have a base durability of 2,032 points. Now, that is widely off. So what I did was a thing called a ratio to translate each Breath of the Wild's durability into a complementary Minecraft durability. So the spring-loaded hammer has full durability on it, netherite sword, and the rusted prod sword only has 202 durability. Now, not every weapon is metallic, so for the vocal clubs and stuff like soup ladles, I made those wooden swords. It's mainly so they can be burned in furnaces because, well, they're wooden. Also, you can see that I use attribute modifiers to give every weapon its actual Breath of the Wild damage value. Every sword also has the same cooldown time as the normal netherite sword, but spears and great swords will have the same speed as Minecraft hoes and axes respectively. Spears can also be thrown by dropping the item, though that may change. All this durability and damage value stuff took way too long, because I all had to do it by hand. The step-lock function for this chest is 17,905 columns long. That is way too long. The durability and damage translations from the melee weapons is the same as the one for bows, but bows have a bit more complications to them. As you can see, when I draw this back, it doesn't change the texture at all. It's just a normal sanding texture. And that's because I really couldn't find the drawn back texture for them. See, I got all these textures from Zelda Dungeon, but I didn't have it, so I need to figure out something about that, but it'll be fine. But, anyway, what I did for damage is I change the damage tag when I shoot a specific arrow or a specific bow. How I did this was the same method I used to make, well, these. If it'll come down, and there we go. So, as you can, if I can show us a little bit, but the fire arrows actually have a model on them when I shoot them. And what I did to do that is I detected when an arrow is shot while I'm holding a bow, and if there's a fire arrow in the inventory, and then summon a new custom arrow entity, and then kill the old one. So this is so I can put a passenger armor stand on a new arrow that I summoned, and then make sure that I'm accurate in what arrow is shot. This is also the same method I used to have custom damages on each of the bows. Now we have a big one: paragliding, shield surfing, and climbing. So, to activate the paragliding, you jump and crouch in midair. The paraglider will summon in front of you, and you have to right-click into the saddle in order to actually ride it. And so the paraglider will go where you're looking, so it's not too much room to look around, but yeah, it's still pretty neat to traverse the terrain. And for shield surfing, all you do is do the exact same steps, but having a shield in your offhand, so you can actually, the shield will move in the air in front of you, and then you have to grab the shield back off the armor stand in order to get it again, just like that, except for it died, but yeah. Then, for Breath of the Wild's most famous mechanic, probably, is the climbing, which you've probably seen me do quite a few times now, but all I need to do is you just hold shift in front of a wall. So if I do it right here, I can, oh, yeah, there we go. Ta-da, you're going right up the wall. But the one thing that I really want to add is actually a stamina wheel, because also do some things, because you can still shoot a bow from it like that. But yeah, now we have what a lot of you have been seeing in the background, the inventory. Not this one, this one. The basic way that this works is that the player has 4 storages. One's for melee, one's for bows, one's for bows, and one's for arrows. So, and then there's also one for everything else, the spyglass, which will eventually be like a satchel, but that's for another day. You can access these whenever you hold the weapon that works with them. So if I hold a sword, I'll see my sword inventory. If I see my spyglass, see everything inventory. But the best part is that it works by if you put an item in the slot while you're holding like if I hold the satchel here, I put this paraglider in there, and then hold the arrow, and actually save it. So if I go back to the paraglider, you see right there. There's the paraglider right there in inventory. I can like throw all these items out, just go back to arrows, go back to here, and bam, all those items are still gone. Or you like throw more, go back, there's even more, those slots are open. And if I pick them up, put them back in there, go back to holding the arrows, then go back to here, bam, the items are back. And actually, the best part about this is that you can actually use the quick switch with this. So if I go back here and press F or my switch to offhand key, you will see that it'll go straight to the next sword in my inventory right there. So I can press it a ton like this, and then it'll actually go back pretty quick. So like, yeah, actually go around the fly, and you press with the bows and arrows and swords. And I say that probably the most useful way you can use this is if I shoot a couple of shock arrows here, I can go with my arrows, and then go switch straight to using regular arrows, super quickly like that. Now, one thing I haven't done yet is actually with shields right here. So I haven't done anything with shields in terms of the pairing or storage. So right now you have to put your shields in your in the everything else slot for now. But that's what it has to do for now. But another thing that I was really wanting to do is actually add in Hetsus or Hetsus or the fat Korok guy at his upgrade system. So what I'll do is you like obtain some item out in the wild, and then like right click it, and it'll say like expand sword inventory, and then you'll see right there like with the blue stained glass, I'll like move over, and then bam, you have another slot you can use, and probably have a different item for each type of storage. So one for the swords, and like one for bows and arrows, and because currently right now I see like starting off with 6 slots, it's kind of a lot, so I might start it like at 3 or so, but we'll see. Now we have the most unfinished and unpolished part of this entire data pack right now, which is the custom mobs. So my plans for this is I want to replace every vanilla mob in the game, well monster, with a counterpart for Breath of the Wild. So zombies will be the goblins and moblins, skeletons will be Lizels, and creepers will be choo-choos. But right now in the data pack, the zombies are just replaced with a custom name and like some options for equipment, and their entire health that they would have from Breath of the Wild, with even the silver moblins having like 1024, I think is what it is. But yeah, but the big part that I need to figure out still is that I need to make the custom model for every single one of these mobs, and it's gonna be really time consuming, but it's honestly all I can do right now, because I don't know how else I can put the models in, because I can't exactly rip them from Breath of the Wild. But one thing that's actually, the one mob that's actually pretty finished is the Guardian, which I want to fight and show you the fight. It's going to be very hard, but let's try. So this is what he looks like. Well, the Guardian at least. And textures are very unfinished. I just took them straight from the paraglider, but it has all the legs in, it has the model and the laser, which is pretty offset right there, but that's it so far. But it's now, as soon as I go into survival mode, it's going to shoot right at me. Like that. Because it only shoots at players at creative mode, in survival mode, and shock arrows actually freeze it, along with any other mob, and I already died. But the laser, what it does is it charges up, and whenever the particles are really big around the eye, it'll like immediately shoot at you. But let me kill these goons right here. Yeah, it's already shooting at me. Oh gosh. But I believe the base mob for it's actually the Ravager and Slime and maybe Zoglin, but I'm not too sure. But the only way you can really block it, which I might die right now again. I think I actually am. Oh gosh. Oh no. Get out of the way! Need to get out of the way. Okay. Yeah, and I died. But the only way to really make sure you don't die, besides wearing armor, which kind of helps actually, is shields block the explosion from the laser pretty well. But the main thing is that to make sure you don't get killed by the standard attack from the Ravager as a base mob. And another thing to help is that they actually only aim at your head, so you can hide behind like one single block and actually won't take any damage. But now this guy here is probably gonna kill me. Let's see, because he has a lot of health. But yeah, the Guardian actually died there. I still have the issue with a lot of people's custom mobs is that as soon as it touches water, it like immediately dies. And I think it's because the armor stand displayed the model, it's actually get out of the water. And, oh my gosh, this guy is killing me. Yeah, because and I got killed with my own shock arrow. Nice. But these silver moblin guys have so much health though. Might need to. Yep, and there we go. Yeah, that's, as you can see, it does a lot of damage to the terrain. So make sure you don't have a witch spawn in the water there. And yeah, that's the loot for me right now. I still need to fix the loot tables, but that's what it is right now. I guess my advice to you when you is don't have a guardian fight near your village because it does a lot of terrain damage. But yeah. And finally, we have what you Datapack people have been waiting for 15 minutes. Custom model armor. Previously thought to be impossible. Well, making this armor was incredibly time consuming, but that whole process will have to wait for a separate video. As of right now, I'll tell you a general idea of how it works. Every piece of armor is a warped fungus on a stick. You right click to equip it, and an item goes into your head to be displayed. Works perfectly with helmets. So here's an example. I have the item in my hand, right click, goes to my head. As you can see, it displays perfectly on my head. So, if you try the same thing with a chest plate, and I disable my data pack, as you can see, the chest plate flies right around me, and it doesn't actually lock to my chest. So, to fix that, what I did was I don't need you. I tracked the item, I tracked the player's rotation when they look around, and I actually match a new model onto the player's head. So what I do, to do that, I use a item modifier, and I change the custom model data number of my head slot to a new number to give a new model. So for chest plates, I have 9 different models based off when the player is looking up or down. There's a custom model data number for each model. There's an item modifier for each model, and there's a data storage entry for each model. It adds up really quickly. So, this is when the process started to escalate into being a lot more annoying. I'd make a new model for every rotation that I did, and what makes it take so darn long is I had to manually line up the chest plate to the player. This is originally when I have an armor stand for every rotation, so I can see if I got the right numbers in. The models are based off of a 22.5 factor scale rotation scale, which you can see when we try to rotate something in Blockbench. Now leggings is where models become exponentially more annoying. So when you walk, the player does a thing called swing your legs. To my knowledge, there's absolutely no way of figuring out where the player's legs are at. From just looking, looks like the velocity of which the player's legs swing is when flying, it's like a linear acceleration, but I really don't know how to translate that into models. So what I did to deal with that is track when the player moves with a DXDT scoreboard system, and then have a scoreboard cycle to make my own walk cycle for animations. Since there's 9 different rotations for the armor, I had to make 45 models for leggings. Now boots go off of the same system as well, so that's another 45 models. So I did it right. I made custom model armor. Oh heck no. There's way more to this. See, one thing that the player likes to do is equip multiple pieces of armor. So how did I tackle that issue? What I did was track when the player tries equipping an item while there's already a model in their head slot. So if I then move that item from the head to its proper slot. So if I try equipping these boots, for example, which I equip, the chest plate moves into the chest plate slot, and the boots are on my head. And now you see both models there. Well, you're supposed to at least. But, so what I had to do was make even more models for every combination of 2 pieces of armor, for every combination of 3 pieces of armor, and for every combination of 4 pieces of armor. So that last one was pretty easy. As you would imagine, this created a need for a lot more models and posing. Function-wise, the combinations are still use the same code for leggings and boots, so the item combination rotation tracking. Just that creating and posing 558 models takes a heck of a long time. If you may have forgotten, this whole data pack is supposed to be me making Breath of the Wild into a data pack. With the invention of custom model armor, I was hoping to add all the armor sets into the game. Like with custom mobs, all the mobs will models have to be made from scratch. The only complications that I will face is that each set of armor on its own takes 558 models, making it so 2 sets of armor can coexist in the game. Requires you make even more models of the player wearing a Zora helm and a Hylian tunic, for example. Now will exponentially increase the amount of models I need to make. Functions to correctly rotate those sets. As of August 6, 2021, I'm at the data pack to run everything, taking up 1.5 megabytes, and the resource pack taking up 9.21 megabytes. For comparison, the first data pack that I've made, which is somewhat big, is 198 kilobytes big. That is a 952 kilobyte difference, which is a lot. These photos are going to be huge by download time. Well, I should have expected it, seeing how huge Breath of the Wild itself is. That being that, this is all I have to show for 5 months of work. Thanks for waiting for so long for this announcement. I am so excited to finally tell the world what I've said I'm doing. See ya, and I'll be coming back in episode 2.